Hey, it's the core gameplay, bringing you another Fury crafting build, this time for the healer. This healer will focus on auto attacks and heavy attacks to gain the healing buff so that they can do more healing and heal their allies. For this build, I'll be breaking down the weapon perks, the armor perks, the gems, and the trinkets as well. So let's dive right into this build and let's take a look at the skill tree. For the skill tree, I decided to heavily spec into healing instead of protector, since healing will give you the best auto attacks that will buff you and your allies. So I decided to go with Divine Embrace, Sacred Ground, and Beacon. All of these skills I feel is pretty good when you need to heal your allies and will keep your allies alive for longer. I'm going to use Divine Embrace to heal up my tank, since they're probably going to take the most of the damage, and I want the burst heal to just cover my tank's health when it drops down below 50. I took Sacred Ground because it's a nice AoE heal and it will buff my allies as well with Fortitude when I take an ability perk on my armor. Beacon I took because it's really nice. It can follow monsters or it can follow an ally, which just allows it to be really versatile. The reason I say this life staff is very light and heavy attack focus is because of all the passives in the healing tree. For example, Absolve will allow your light and heavy attacks to not cost mana anymore, and your heavy attacks will allow you to clear debuffs from your allies, which is really good. Plus, if you go a bit further down the tree, you will gain Blissful Torch, which will heal your allies when you do light attacks. So you wanna weave your light and heavy attacks frequently so that you can both remove buffs and give some healing to your allies. I also took another perk called Revitalize, which will reduce your cooldowns on your abilities when you light attack, which is really good for your build since you can just light attack and you will gain cooldown reduction, which will really work in your favor. Another one that synergizes well with your heavy attacks is Intensify, which will give you more healing for heavy attacks. You can gain up to 30% extra healing by just doing 3 heavy attacks, which is really nice as well. And then the other passives is just there to buff my allies. For example, Divine Blessing will heal my allies for more when they're below 50% health. And then I have Sacred Protection, which will just give my allies more health. I also took a couple of passives for the abilities. The main passives that I really like is the Sacred Ground passives, since it will also increase your healing when you put the Sacred Ground ability down. For example, your allies will gain stamina and mana when you put the Sacred Ground down. For example, you can put it on yourself to gain mana, or maybe your tank is just running out of stamina and they need a little bit of a buff. You can just put Sacred Ground on them and they will be able to tank for a bit longer. Maybe your tank is in trouble, and the second passive will help you with that as well. It's called Bless. You will heal for 50% more when an ally is in your Sacred Ground, which is really nice as well. And the other ones weren't really noteworthy, but they're really good as well. For the Protector tree, I decided to go with passives that buff my auto attacks as well. For example, Protector's Torch. It will buff me by giving me Fortitude when I light an heavy attack, and that will buff the passive Protector's Strength, which will give me increased healing for 10% more because I can put Protector's Torch on myself by doing light and heavy attacks. I will buff myself activating Protector's Strength, which is really nice since I get a healing increase just because I'm auto attacking. I also took the dodge ability Bent Lights, which will increase my healing by 20% after I dodge, which is really nice since as a healer you're probably going to be dodging a lot to avoid NPCs. And for my final skill, I decided to take Beacon just because it's so versatile and it can follow your ally around, so it's just a really nice heal I also took some passives below it, but they're not that important. Next, let's dive into the healing staff. What perks will I take on the healing staff to optimize it? I think the best perks for the healing staff is Blessed, Refreshing and Refreshing Move. Blessed will just increase your healing output, which is really necessary for a dedicated healing build. So Blessed is definitely a must on your weapon. If you don't have this on your build, then I really don't know what you're doing with a healing staff. The next move that I really like on the healing staff is Refreshing Move. Your light and heavy attacks will just reduce your cooldowns, which is really nice for a healing build. Since you want your heals always to be up, you can just heavy and light attack, which will also work into the life staff's abilities, because your light and heavy attacks will heal your allies or clear conditions, which is really nice for this healing build. Since I mainly focus on light and heavy attacks with this healing build to buff myself and my allies, this is a great perk for the healing staff. And for the final perk, I chose Refreshing just because it gives me some extra cooldown reduction and it's really nice to have my skills off cooldown. Moving on to our armor pieces, the perks that I would like on my armor is Refreshing Divine Embrace, Fortifying Sacred Ground, Revitalizing Beacon, Vigor, and Always Resilient. The first 3 perks that you want on your armor is ability perks, for example, Refreshing Divine Embrace. Using Divine Embrace on a target below 50% health reduce the cooldown by 46%, which is really nice just for Divine Embrace since it will heal a lot and we will have it back faster. Fortifying Sacred Ground. Allies healed by Sacred Ground gained Fortitude, increasing damage absorption by a percentage for 5 seconds, which is also really good since your tank is probably going to be in this and you will give them some Fortify, which is really nice for reducing that damage. For our beacon skill, we will be equipping the ability perk Revitalizing Beacon. Using Beacon increase healing power on self by 37% for 12 seconds. This will just allow you to keep your own health up since if a healer is dead, you won't be doing any healing, meaning your party will probably die just because you're not alive. So increasing your own healing is really important as well since your party really needs you in the fight. And for the general armor perks that you can equip on all armor pieces is Vigor. Vigor will just reduce burn, bleed and poison to expire faster. And then we want another perk called Resilient for general armor perks, which will just reduce critical hit damage so it does less damage to you when they crit you. Now for the jewelry pieces, we get the amulet, we get the earrings and we get the ring. First, let's cover the amulet and what perks I would like on the amulet for a life staff build. The first perk I would like is Divine, the second Health, and the last one Refreshing. The Divine perk will allow you to receive more healing from incoming sources, so it's really good for helping to sustain yourself and you're a healer, so you heal yourself for more. The Health perk will just buff your health since health is so important and many times you heal percentage of health instead of a flat number. Having more health is always better in this game since you'll heal for more and you'll have more hit points. And finally, Refreshing is just really good and it's about the best perk you can get for a healer since your heals will always be up. So Refreshing is just that extra perk that will help you reduce the cooldown on your abilities. Moving on to the earring, there's a couple of perks that you can choose from, but here are a couple of my favorite: Refreshing Toast, Focus, Healthy Toast, and Mana Toast. Refreshing Toast will just reduce the cooldown of your potions, which is really helpful in a fight so that you can survive longer and it might save your life. Focus will just allow you to have more mana regen, which is really nice since healing will cost you a lot of your mana. Healthy Toast will keep you healthy when you drink a mana potion. You will basically gain a percentage health when you consume just a regular mana potion, which is really helpful when you're running around healing everybody and you don't have chance to heal yourself. You can just pop a mana potion, you can heal more, and you will do a little bit of self-healing as well. And for the last perk, you can choose Mana Toast. When you drink a health potion, you'll gain mana as well. This is really good as well, and it synergizes nicely with Refreshing Toast. So that's the 4 perks that I would want on my earring. Obviously, you can only choose 3, but choose any of these that you like the most and put them in your build. For the ring, I chose 3 perks. I chose Sacred, Brilliant, and Siphoning. Sacred will allow you to heal for more. Basically, it will just buff your outgoing heals, which is really nice, and this is basically a must-have on any healer's build. Brilliant will allow you to have extra mana. It's basically like the health perk, but this one is instead for mana. For example, you'll gain a % extra mana for your total mana. And Siphoning will allow you to gain extra mana for your auto attacks. Let's say you hit an enemy, you'll gain a % mana back for every hit, but this does have a cooldown as well, so you can't just spam auto attacks and gain mana, but the cooldown is fairly low, so Siphoning is really good to sustain your mana. Moving on to gems. For the gem in your life staff, there's really only one gem that you can choose that will increase your healing, and that is the diamond. The diamond will increase your healing for about 15%, but it might change when the game launches. But just know you can increase your healing for 15% at the moment when your health is full. So this is really the only gem that I would equip to a life staff, because you're not a damage dealer, you're a healer. So if your life is full, you'll heal for more. Next, we're going to equip our armor and jewelry with gems as well. I always run these gem combo. You can choose whatever you want, but I like the malachite and the diamond just because they give me a balanced resistance against elemental damage and physical damage. Now that we got a look at the gems, let's go to the attributes just to see what you can do with it. I would probably try to get to 300 focus for my attributes. You can get extra focus by focusing on your gear stats. Just pump focus into your gear, and then if you have 300 focus, I would probably go into constitution just so that you're nice and tanky and you can stay alive for longer. So that was my healing build for the life staff. Let me know what I can improve in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next build that I'm doing.